You think you know betrayal? You think you've seen ruthless revenge in WWE? Well, you haven't seen anything yet, because what Roman Reigns just pulled off is the most cold-blooded, calculated, and absolutely brutal act of vengeance in wrestling history, and it's going to leave Paul Heyman wishing he never crossed the tribal chief. I'm talking about Roman Reigns returning with not one, not two, but three new Shield members, including the absolute madman Jon Moxley, and their sole mission is to destroy Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins for the ultimate betrayal that shook WWE to its core. This isn't just wrestling drama, this is personal warfare, and Roman just declared war on everyone who stabbed him in the back. If you thought the original Shield was dangerous, wait until you see what Roman has unleashed this time. This is revenge on a level that WWE has never witnessed before. Let's be crystal clear about what happened here, because some of you might have forgotten just how disgusting Paul Heyman's betrayal really was. This wasn't just a simple turn, this was a man who Roman treated like family, who Roman trusted with his career, his legacy, and his most intimate wrestling secrets, stabbing him in the back at the worst possible moment. Paul Heyman stood by Roman's side for years. He was there through every championship reign, every major storyline, every moment of triumph and struggle. Roman made Paul Heyman relevant again in WWE, gave him purpose, gave him the biggest platform he'd ever had in his career. And how does Paul repay that loyalty? By selling out to Seth Rollins the moment things got challenging. The night Paul Heyman turned on Roman wasn't just a betrayal, it was a calculated assassination of everything Roman had built. Heyman didn't just join Seth Rollins. He handed over Roman's playbook, his strategies, his weaknesses, everything that made Roman the unstoppable force he had become. This wasn't business, this was personal destruction. And Seth Rollins? Don't even get me started on that opportunistic snake. He saw Roman's moment of vulnerability and pounced like the predator he's always been. Seth couldn't beat Roman fair and square, so he recruited the one man who knew all of Roman's secrets. That's not strategy, that's cowardice of the highest order. But here's what Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins didn't count on: Roman Reigns doesn't just get mad. He gets even. And what he's done in response to their betrayal is going to haunt both of them for the rest of their careers. When Roman Reigns disappeared from WWE television after that humiliating betrayal, everyone thought he was broken. The wrestling world assumed the tribal chief was done, that Paul Heyman's betrayal had finally ended the Roman Reigns era. Social media was full of people saying Roman was finished, that he'd never recover from such a personal and professional devastation. But Roman wasn't broken, he was planning. He wasn't hiding, he was recruiting. And what he put together during his time away from WWE is the most dangerous faction in wrestling history. Jon Moxley leading the charge as the enforcer of this new Shield is absolutely terrifying. This isn't the corporate-friendly Dean Ambrose that WWE tried to sanitize. This is the unhinged, unpredictable, absolutely ruthless Jon Moxley who has spent years perfecting the art of controlled violence. Roman didn't just bring back a former Shield member, he brought back a weapon of mass destruction. The other two members of this new Shield. Sources are telling me they're hand-picked killers who share Roman's thirst for revenge. These aren't just wrestlers, they're soldiers in Roman's personal war against everyone who wronged him. The original Shield was about brotherhood and opportunity. This new Shield is about one thing only: making Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins pay for their betrayal in the most brutal way possible. What makes this revenge story so absolutely compelling is how Roman is executing it. This isn't just about showing up and throwing punches. Roman is playing psychological warfare at a level that would make The Undertaker proud. He's systematically dismantling everything that Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins built together, piece by piece, moment by moment. The attack started subtly. Seth Rollins' matches began getting interrupted by technical difficulties. Paul Heyman's backstage interviews were mysteriously cut short by production issues. Their merchandise started disappearing from WWE shops. These weren't coincidences, these were the opening moves in Roman's chess game of revenge. But then things escalated. Seth Rollins' rental car was found with all 4 tires slashed in the parking garage. Paul Heyman's hotel room was, mistakenly, double-booked, forcing him to sleep in the lobby. Their flight reservations kept getting cancelled by mysterious system errors. Roman was showing them that he could reach them anywhere, anytime, and they would never be safe. The most chilling moment came when Paul Heyman found a note in his briefcase that simply read, "You made this personal. Now it's personal." That's when both Seth and Paul realized they weren't just dealing with an angry former partner, they were dealing with someone who had the resources, the connections, and the absolute determination to make their lives miserable. Jon Moxley's involvement became clear when he started showing up at Seth Rollins' matches, just sitting in the crowd, watching, taking notes, studying every move. He wasn't there to interfere, he was there to scout, to learn, to prepare for what was coming. And what's coming is going to be absolutely devastating. The genius of Roman's revenge plan is how it targets what Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins value most, their egos, their reputations, and their sense of security. Roman isn't just trying to beat them in matches, he's trying to destroy them psychologically, professionally, and personally. For Paul Heyman, Roman is systematically undermining his credibility as a manager and advocate. Every time Paul tries to cut a promo about Seth Rollins, mysterious audio issues make him sound incompetent. Every time he tries to negotiate a contract or make a business deal, details leak to the wrestling press that make him look foolish. Roman is destroying Paul's most valuable asset, his reputation as a master manipulator. For Seth Rollins, the attacks are even more personal. Roman is targeting Seth's ego, his need to be seen as the best wrestler in the world. Seth's matches are being sabotaged not to make him lose, but to make him look weak, uncertain, and vulnerable. Roman wants Seth to doubt himself, to second-guess every decision, to feel the same uncertainty and betrayal that Roman felt when Paul turned on him. The psychological torture is working. Seth Rollins has been visibly frustrated in recent interviews, snapping at reporters and making statements that sound desperate rather than confident. Paul Heyman looks exhausted and paranoid, constantly looking over his shoulder and jumping at every unexpected sound. But Roman isn't done. The psychological warfare was just the opening act. What's coming next is going to be the main event, and it's going to be absolutely brutal. The first coordinated attack from Roman's new Shield was a masterpiece of violence and precision that sent shockwaves through the entire WWE roster. It happened during what was supposed to be a routine contract signing between Seth Rollins and his next challenger. Paul Heyman was there to negotiate terms, Seth was there to sign papers, and everything seemed normal. Then the lights went out. When the lights came back on, Jon Moxley was standing behind Paul Heyman with a steel chair in his hands. The other 2 Shield members had Seth Rollins cornered at the table. And Roman Reigns was sitting in the contract signing chair, calmly reading the papers that Seth was supposed to sign. "Did you really think I was going to let you 2 continue your little partnership without consequences?" Roman asked, his voice carrying that cold, calculated tone that made everyone in the arena realize this wasn't just a wrestling angle, this was personal. What followed was 5 minutes of the most systematic, brutal beatdown in recent WWE history. This wasn't a wild brawl or a chaotic fight. This was a calculated assault designed to send a message. Jon Moxley held Paul Heyman while the other Shield members took turns delivering precise, painful strikes. Seth Rollins was forced to watch every second of Paul's punishment before receiving his own beating. The most chilling moment came when Roman stood over both men and said, "This is what betrayal feels like. This is what it means to cross the tribal chief. And this is just the beginning." The impact of Roman's revenge campaign is being felt throughout the entire WWE roster, and it's creating a climate of fear and uncertainty that's affecting everyone from main eventers to developmental talent. Wrestlers are being forced to choose sides, and the consequences of making the wrong choice are becoming increasingly severe. Several superstars who had previously aligned themselves with Seth Rollins have quietly distanced themselves from him, not wanting to become targets in Roman's war. Others have reached out to Roman directly, offering their services or at least their neutrality in exchange for protection from the new Shield's wrath. The backstage atmosphere is reportedly tense, with WWE officials struggling to maintain order while Roman's faction operates with impunity. Security has been increased, but it's clear that the new Shield has inside information and resources that make them nearly impossible to stop. Paul Heyman has been forced to hire private security, but even that hasn't been enough to protect him from the psychological torment. He's reportedly checking into hotels under fake names, varying his travel routes, and avoiding public appearances whenever possible. The man who once managed Brock Lesnar and faced down The Undertaker is now living in constant fear of Roman's revenge. Seth Rollins has tried to maintain his normal schedule, but his performances have clearly been affected. He's making mistakes in matches that he's never made before, missing opportunities that would normally be automatic, and showing signs of the mental strain that Roman's campaign is designed to create. WWE management has tried to negotiate a settlement, to arrange a match that would settle the score and end the conflict, but Roman has made it clear that this isn't about winning or losing, it's about justice. He wants Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins to experience the same humiliation, betrayal, and destruction that they inflicted on him. The rumored match that's being planned for the next major pay-per-view is unlike anything WWE has ever sanctioned. It's not just Roman and his new Shield against Seth and Paul, it's a systematic destruction match where the goal isn't just victory, but complete and total humiliation of the opposition. Jon Moxley has been preparing for this confrontation with an intensity that's honestly frightening to witness. He's been training not just for a wrestling match, but for a war. His workouts are brutal, his mindset is focused, and his dedication to Roman's cause is absolute. This isn't just about rekindling old Shield loyalties. This is about delivering the kind of justice that the wrestling world has never seen before. The other Shield members have been equally focused, each bringing their own specialized skills to Roman's revenge campaign. One is reportedly a submission specialist who can make opponents tap out in seconds. The other is a powerhouse who can deliver devastating finishers that leave opponents unconscious for minutes. Together, they form a unit that's designed not just to win matches, but to end careers. What makes this story so compelling is that Roman has reached a point where there's no going back. This isn't a storyline that can be resolved with a handshake or a mutual respect moment. Roman's thirst for revenge has consumed him completely, and he won't be satisfied until Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins are completely destroyed. The psychological profile of Roman's revenge reveals a man who has been pushed beyond his breaking point. The betrayal didn't just hurt his career. It destroyed his ability to trust, to form alliances, to believe in the good intentions of others. Roman has become someone who sees enemies everywhere and trusts no one except the soldiers he's recruited for his personal war. This transformation from hero to anti-hero to absolute destroyer is what makes Roman's story so fascinating and terrifying. He's not just seeking revenge, he's seeking to completely rewrite the power structure of WWE in his own image, with himself as the ultimate authority and everyone else as either allies or enemies. Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins have tried to apologize, to explain their actions, to negotiate some kind of peace, but Roman has made it clear that their betrayal was unforgivable. There will be no mercy, no second chances, no opportunity for redemption. There will only be justice, delivered with the brutal efficiency that only Roman and his new Shield can provide. The question isn't whether Roman will get his revenge. It's how devastating that revenge will be and what will be left of Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins when it's over. Roman has spent months planning this campaign, recruiting the perfect soldiers, and preparing for a war that will determine the future of WWE. Jon Moxley's involvement guarantees that this won't be a clean, corporate-friendly resolution. This will be brutal, personal, and absolutely unforgiving. The Shield's reputation was built on their ability to destroy everything in their path, and this new version is even more dangerous because they're motivated by pure revenge rather than just ambition. The wrestling world is watching, waiting, and preparing for what could be the most brutal settling of scores in WWE history. Roman Reigns has proven that betraying the tribal chief comes with consequences that go far beyond losing a match or a championship. It means facing the full wrath of a man who has nothing left to lose and everything to gain from your complete destruction. Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins thought they were making a smart business decision when they betrayed Roman. Instead, they awakened something that's going to haunt them for the rest of their careers. The tribal chief is back, he's brought an army, and he's ready to collect on every debt that betrayal created. This is what happens when you cross Roman Reigns. This is what revenge looks like when it's planned by a master strategist and executed by the most dangerous faction in wrestling history. And this is just the beginning of the end for everyone who thought they could betray the tribal chief without consequences. The war has begun, and Roman Reigns is going to make sure he's the only one left standing when it's over. If you thought tonight's story was wild, trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. So don't stop now. Click on the video right here on your screen to continue the chaos, the drama, and the inside scoop only we deliver. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and join the Wrestling News CC family, where the real stories of WWE come to life. See you in the next one.